Welcome to this introductory presentation of Axies Ventures. My name is Heinrich Muller, CEO. I'll be taking us through a broad overview of the company, who we are, what we're busy with, what we believe, and where we believe we're headed. Obviously, there will be some statements of a forward-looking nature, so I'd encourage you to familiarize yourself with the disclaimer on the first slide. So we're principally a early stage exploration company that's focused in the jurisdictions of Cyprus and Canada. Our core assets are in Cyprus with additional ground in Canada, and we're principally focused on copper and gold. Our fundamental departure point is the acquisition and development of very high potential greenfields projects in geologically proven terrains. So as many of you will know, Cyprus has been the prolific copper producer for most of human history up until around the 1970s, and post the discovery of the copper fields in South America, principally Chile, and also in Central Africa. Interest started to wane in Cyprus, which was further catalyzed by the political instability that ensued at the time. And essentially since then, which is just about 50 years, no or very little modern exploration methodologies and techniques have been applied to the island. We believe that there's tremendous geological potential still to be tapped, and that's one of our key strategic departure points. Just quickly, a comment on the team. Our chairman, Nick Tulloch, a corporate lawyer by background, with a wealth of experience in the capital markets on both the investment banking and the stockbroking side, an expert in the structuring and restructuring of public businesses. Myself as a director, and currently fulfilling the role of CEO. I'm a geologist and metallurgist by background. I started my career with Anglo American Platinum for about 10 years, and have been involved subsequently in a number of companies in the junior market end. The most recently, I've been involved in a company called Bravo Mining, where we acquired an asset from a major in Brazil and brought that company to the market in Canada through the course of last year. We IPO'd for about 175 million Canadian. The stock's currently trading around about 500 million. And then Jeremy Woodgate, very strong financial corporate stockbroking background. Seen a lot of success through being involved in and leading a number of IPOs, both in the London market as well as the Canadian market. And then Steve Pawson, very well known in the London market for his endeavors and successes with Star Energy and iGas Energy, as well as Rockrose Energy. A very, very strong finance technical background, as well as corporate experience. And then on the in-country and senior management basis, Efigenia Gabriel is our in-country manager and geologist. She's got over 20 years experience in Cyprus, managing exploration programs for a number of companies, both AIM listed and Canada listed. And so she takes charge of the operations in country. She's very well connected, strong relationships, very reputable, and is a very, very important asset for us, not only from a technical perspective in country in terms of understanding the geology and leading the technical program, but in terms of establishing the relationships with the key institutions and public departments in country. And then we've got Stuart Cunningham, who's looking after the finances for us, also more than 20 years experience as a chartered accountant in the UK. So we've got a very strong technical and corporate team, on all accounts, with a proven track record of success. We're very much focused on the local operating environment. We fundamentally believe that a strong in-country presence and involvement and strong relational capital in the jurisdiction in which you operate is very, very important, and we've worked very hard to achieve that over the last 2 or 3 years that we've been establishing the business. We have also just as an example, established a formal partnership with the university, the Open University of Cyprus, which allows us both a technical data exchange, but also allows students of the university to come and get in-field training on the site. So there's a mutual flow of data and benefit in terms of us getting access to technical and academic data in terms of the geosciences of the island, but also have a manner to contribute to the workforce and the upskilling of Cypriots. Further to that, we fundamentally believe that most of the technical expertise, particularly from a technical perspective on the geology of Cyprus and the operating environment in Cyprus, can be found best with the local Cypriots. And so we've got a big reliance on local skills. Efigenia obviously being a Cypriot, and many of our other consulting geologists and field crew are all locally based. In terms of our approach from a discovery perspective, we very much believe in a science-led discovery methodology and technical de-risking approach. Exploration can often become a bottomless pit from an expenditure perspective with very little results. And so our approach is very much to be very critical from a science perspective, and to supplement that with extreme financial discipline. We, for example, as directors, are not pulling any salaries. We haven't since the inception of the company. Operating in Cyprus itself is very, very cheap. Drilling costs per meter are in fact cheaper than what surface sampling costs are, and certainly cheaper than just about every other jurisdiction in the world. And so it's a fantastic opportunity to advance projects very far with very conservative financial expenditure. So in Cyprus, we've acquired approximately 4,000 hectare land package, which was based on a number of lines of evidence, which was initiated through our reconnaissance program, which included the review of the extensive geological database that we own, which includes rock geology as well as soil chemistry, rock chemistry, and then a substantial remote sensing database that we acquired through a satellite study that we've performed, which gives us the ability to assess the potential for targets to host mineralization based on a number of factors, both the geology, but also secondary signatures that are associated with the geology, back reference to known occurrences of mineralization on the island. All of this data has basically supported our exploration model, and we've seen some very, very good results returned essentially on every single one of our land tenements, which includes gold and copper mineralization that's been encountered at surface in a number of occasions, including samples that range from 1 gram a ton all the way up to 15 grams per ton at surface, which really has been a tremendous outcome for us. We've also initiated a drilling program as a phase 1 confirmatory drilling program, and we've intersected on our tenements massive sulfides, which potentially host gold and copper mineralization. This has been a very, very important outcome for us because it's an important back validation to both our understanding of the genesis of the mineral deposits that we believe to be encountering, but also in terms of the exploration model that we're deploying to discover these deposits. And so that has been a really interesting outcome for us. In total, we own 100% of our tenements in Cyprus. We've got a pipeline of approximately 7 tenements, which are in various stages of approval, either granted or under application or currently under review. This gives you an overview of where our tenements are distributed. We've got the Almaras target in the northeast, Lithrodontus and Kokinovrisi, and Kofino in the southern eastern part of the island. We are continuing to assess opportunities more broadly on the island. We're not restricted to these tenements. The data sets that we have acquired and own are island-wide. And like I said in the beginning, we really believe that Cyprus as an island and as a geological setting still hosts tremendous potential for VMS copper gold discoveries. And so we're definitely taking a broader view, and our strategy is certainly to grow the land package, not just simply for the fact or for the purpose of growing the land package, but really from a critical scientific perspective, evaluating the potential of certain regions within the island to host mineralization and to acquire those. The Almaraz target, which I'll speak to first, it sits along the structural trend, which is controlled mineralization at the Matiati mining complex. The Matiati mining complex is a historic mine that produced about 2.2 million tons of ore at about 1 gram per ton gold equivalent. There are still about 500,000 tons of remnant resources in the pit, massive sulfides. But what's really interesting and important for us is not so much the historic operation, but that there's a 12-kilometer long trend that controls the mineralization in the region. We have staked the entire structural trend of about 12 kilometers and have already identified a number of gossinous alteration zones at surface, and many of those demonstrating gold mineralization at surface, anywhere from 0.5 gram a ton. And it's on this trend where the earlier sample that I mentioned, where we encountered 15 grams per ton at surface. So we really believe that the entire structural trend has the potential to host a number of other massive sulfide deposits, which have previously been overlooked. And so we think it's a very, very high potential area. You can see the location in the central part of this image over here, where the pit is located and where there's still some remnant mineralization in the area. All the red schematic areas that you're seeing here are oxidation features at surface, which are generally associated with mineralization. We're in the process of sequentially sampling this entire area. We've also staked this area to the northwest over here, and it's in this region where we've acquired a 15 gram per ton sample in this, what we believe to be a zone of mineralization over here. The structural trend is running from the northwest along and down to the east in such a manner. This is our Koffie-Noor target. Again, from a geological perspective and a structural perspective, very favorable. This is a purely greenfields target. As far as we know, there's no work has ever been done on this tenement. We've discovered very strong alteration features at surface and gold mineralization in most of our samples, all anomalous, above 3 grams per ton, as high as 5 grams per ton. So very, very interesting target for us. And our follow-up work here will be more surface sampling to define the drilling targets and then to initiate a drilling program. Lithrodontus was a target that was staked on a similar manner. We believed it to be a completely greenfields target. We looked at the geological features and historic database of information, including soil samples and soil chemistry, and we found the area to be very, very favorable from a geological prospectivity perspective. We subsequently initiated a review of all available data, including engaging the mines department, and discovered that in the 1950s, there was in fact a company that had done exploration and discovered a massive sulfide deposit. We initiated a drilling program of 6 drill holes, of which all encountered massive sulfide mineralization. And this was very important for us because it gave us the confirmation of the presence of the sulfide body, but it validated the company's technical exploration model and the methodology that we're going about. So it was an interesting back validation for us in terms of the way that we're approaching our exploration, specifically to the geology and the setting within the island. This is important for us not only from the point of view that the sulfide body might in and of itself be an economic mineral deposit, but it gives us an additional very, very important data point to vectorize additional mineralization within the structural setting that Lithrodontus finds itself in. You can see on these images the material, the massive sulfide material that was drilled. And while we were cutting a road into the mountain to access the drilling pads, We also discovered some historic mining adits for copper, which again is a very, very strong indicator that the area does host copper mineralization. The adit dates from the Roman era, and so without a doubt, the area is fertile for copper mineralization and potentially gold as well. This just gives a brief overview of where the geology is. The drilling program was initiated in this area over here to the northwest of the target. We have subsequently claimed the rest of the ground to the west of Lithrodontas based on the structural continuity that we're seeing, the reconnaissance field work that we've done in this area to the west, as well as the remote sensing data that is very coincident with the mineralization that we're seeing on the original tenement seems to continue in this direction. So further upside potential for us in this area. And then very briefly on Canada, we've got 5 prospects in the area, or 5 exploration projects that equate also to about 4,000 hectares. They're all situated in what we believe to be very favorable ground from a geological perspective, with very strong mineralization indicators at surface, and all of them are in well-established mining camps within Canada. We have our Black Township tenements to the east, which is sitting just south of the Kirkland Lake camp. We've got the Endakai and Racky Lake target areas, which are sitting west of Sudbury. And then we've got the Powerline and Morley targets, which are sitting to the west of the Hemlo camp. The projects are all in prolific jurisdictions that are not only historically producing regions, but also have seen significant exploration and development activity in the last couple of months. These are all early stage greenfields opportunities, but they're located in very fertile geological terrains, and they give us long-term strategic opportunities. This is a very brief overview of the Powerline and Morley targets. The historic grab samples at surface have returned anywhere between 4 and 7 grams per ton gold at surface, including substantial mineralization in base metals, which are very encouraging. And these samples that have returned these anomalous values are all coincident with a very strong geophysical signature that crosses the tenements. Then in terms of Endakai Lake, we have performed some subsequent follow-up work there as an initial reconnaissance program, which I'll speak to in a moment. Black Township, again, historical trench records as high as 40 grams per ton gold, with additional gold showings on the property ranging between 6 and 16 grams per ton. There are some historic drill holes on the tenement which have been recorded. Those still need to be verified, but some drilling has taken place on the property itself as well as on the neighboring properties. So very, very encouraging, very early stage, but very encouraging results for us that demonstrate the potential to hold mineral deposits. And then the Racky Lake area, it's adjacent to the Copper Prince mine, which was historically producing at 3% copper. There are a number of anomalous copper showings on the property, and the geology is contiguous with properties adjacent. So again, an early stage greenfields project, but high potential to host both copper and gold mineralization. Our recently completed phase 1 reconnaissance field program on Endakai Lake essentially allowed us to map and record numerous occurrences of copper mineralization at surface. A number of grab samples were taken at 5 localities that had returned copper mineralization grades of 2.3% copper as a maximum, but over an average of about 1.9% copper, so very high grade copper. And then additional localities, 6 of them across the property, returned samples above 0.5% copper with an average grade across those sample localities of 0.57%. And of interest also is on 2 localities of the property we encountered gold showings, where grab samples showed mineralization above 12 grams per ton. So we have some follow-up sampling work that's underway at the moment. But again, as a first pass, highly encouraging results for a first early stage greenfields project, which we again believe to reinforce our belief that the property has the potential to hold significant copper and gold mineralization. As a company, we're moving fast towards an IPO, which will be targeting, the end of this year or earlier next year. We are qualified for EIS, or the Enterprise Investment Scheme benefit, for shareholders, and we will be preserving that status as we move to IPO. We're planning to raise about £3 million, which will allow us to advance our exploration projects on a number of work streams. We will continue, obviously, to operate on a low-cost base in Cyprus. Our work streams will include further diamond drilling, as well as follow-up surface sampling across the island, the acquisition of further targets. And so there are a lot of potential catalysts and news flow that will be generated from the work that we've got planned for the rest of 2024 post the IPO. And as I said earlier, we have a strong focus on Cyprus as our core, but we have very much demonstrated upside potential and optionality from our asset base in Canada. So to conclude, a highly prospective asset base in Cyprus that on all accounts have showed very strong confirmation of mineralization. We're taking a de-risking route in terms of the methodologies that we employ and the way that we deploy our financial resources. Many of our targets are drill ready, or are very close to being drill ready, and so we have the ability to generate significant positive news flow in the short term. Our Canadian assets, as I mentioned, obviously in the heart of a very, very hot competitor region with many early stage projects in the region, as well as a lot of exploration activity. Our target specifically showing high potential at surface to host mineral deposits. All of this work is supported by a very large and strong technical database that we will believe will continue to support our growth efforts and the unlocking of accretive value for shareholders. In terms of what we've achieved so far as a private company, we're fully financed for our next stage of development and potentially through to IPO. And we've got a very, very strong base technically and commercially that's focused on a strong growth strategy. In Cyprus, we have encountered drill confirmed massive sulfide deposits. We've got a number of anomalous copper and gold showings on all of our tenements, which contribute to a growing pipeline of exploration targets across the island. In Canada, we have a material prospective land package growth that we've seen in the last 6 months, going from approximately 2,000 hectares up to 4,000 hectares, with all of our tenements showing very strong signs of mineralization at surface, which underpins our belief in very, very strong discovery potential at these assets. I thank you very much for your time, and if you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out.